What's up, superhumans? I am stoked to bring you this video, but I am a little late on it. watchOS 11 has come to the Apple Watch, and with it, a plethora of new updates and features, and some of them are amazing. However, you guys know that this channel is all about technology and health and fitness, and how technology can help you improve your health and fitness. So we're not going to be focusing on all of the updates, all of the new features. We're just going to be focusing on the ones that are specific to health and fitness. This first big new update is an entirely new app called Vitals. And if we tap on Vitals, we're going to find out what the vitals are. There are 5 of them. That's heart rate, respiratory rate, wrist temperature, SpO2, and sleep duration. This is essentially what Whoop calls their health monitor. Obviously, there are some differences. Whoop uses HRV and doesn't include sleep duration. That's its own dedicated page on the Whoop app. You're going to get data in one of 2 ways. Either that data falls within a typical range. Again, you have to wear it long enough that it can build a what's a normal range for you, or it becomes an outlier. Typical range is shown in blue, and if it's an outlier, it's shown in pink. So as I swipe through the 5 vitals, you can see that some of them are normal, but others need more data. This is that profile it's building. Hence, you'll see 4 more nights of sleep are required to build what is a normal respiratory rate for me. Speaking of sleep, here's a big new one that they didn't even talk about really in the announcement, is Apple Watch can now auto-detect sleep and naps. Okay, I haven't had the update, the watchOS 11 update, long enough to really dive deep into vitals on the watch, but there is more info on the health app on your phone. So let's dive into the phone. In the browse section of the health app, if you scroll down, you'll see vitals, and it's pretty much the same as the watch. You've got your 5 vitals, what's typical, what's an outlier, but when you tap on a vital, you can see that day, the week, the month, and a 6-month look at those readings. So here on this day, I had 13 outliers, and if I click on show more vitals data, I can take a look at how many outliers for each of those 5 vitals. You can also click states and see exactly how long you were in an outlier range, a typical range, or the low range. As I stated before, the Vitals app is very much like the health monitor, and truthfully, I kind of like the moniker of health monitor a little bit more. That was kind of a tongue twister, and that's simply because I think it's a more accurate way of describing the data, what you're looking at. With health monitor, I'm monitoring my health, and there have been many times where I can actually see me getting sick before I actually start feeling sick. You can now add the Vitals app as a new complication to your watch face. It's pretty easy to do. Just tap and hold the watch face to edit. I'm using the modular ultra face. Then just tap one of the empty complications and then scroll down and select vitals. And now it's right on the home screen. Another huge feature that they covered in the keynote is that the Apple Watch now uses its accelerometer to help detect sleep apnea. This is a big one. Go to browse and select respiratory and then select breathing disturbances. Unfortunately, this update is not out yet, so look for that in the future. That's why it's grayed out and I can't tap on anything. The next big improvement comes to the activity app. This is where you see your activity rings. Those rings are your move, exercise, and stand goals. Not much has changed there. But if you click the top left icon, you'll see your weekly summary. And below that, down at the bottom, you can now select change goals or pause rings. Changing goals used to have to be done on the phone. So now that you can do it on the watch, that's pretty awesome. When you select pause rings, you can choose for today, Monday the following week, until the next month, which is October in this case, or you can set a custom date. You can also change your goals by hitting the plus or minus sign next to each goal. This will let you change it for the day or change your daily goal entirely. On the phone, the entire layout of the activity app has changed. This was an iOS 18 change, just FYI. You can now edit sections entirely, either the specific section by itself by tapping and holding the section, I think they call them cards, or you can edit the summary and remove or add your own section from a number of different types. For me, I got rid of the trainer tips and replaced it with my training load. You can also view your workouts here, and if you missed giving your workout an effort rating, you can do it here. You can also select See All categories to see the different types of cards you can choose from. Going back to the activity app, we now have a new feature called Training Load. This is a nice feature because it shows you how you are trending when it comes to your workout duration and effort. That's how it's measured. However, as you'll see, kind of like Vitals, it needs data before it can give you that data. And just like Whoop, it requires 28 days of data. Right now it's telling me I've got 5 out of the 28 days necessary. So once that's updated, I'll start to be able to see information on the watch face itself. Personally, I think Training Load, this new feature Training Load, is a big deal. Because up until now, the only thing Apple Watch could do was tell you stats. Your heart rate was 135. Your resting heart rate was 100 during this workout. Your HRV is 56. And unless you are an expert, like, what are you gonna do with that data? Are you gonna be able to know what kind of workout you should do tomorrow or a month from now? Do you know if you should be doing less than you are or more than you are? Not really. But now with Training Load, we can. And it works really simply. Basically, it takes the duration of a workout and it multiplies that by an RPE scale, or rate of perceived exertion. So once you're done, you basically assign an effort to that workout. And then after 28 days, it knows how hard you're training. So if you do need to do a deload week, you can accurately see that. And up until now, that hasn't been the case with Apple Watch. So it's imperative that you wear your Apple Watch for all of those workouts. Or is it? I'm about to go to jujitsu, and when I do jujitsu, I wear a Whoop. I do not use my Apple Watch. What I'm going to test is that will the data that comes from my Whoop be ported into activities so that Training Load can use that data, so I don't have to wear my Apple Watch. I guess we'll find out. I'll check in with you in a moment. Speaking of workouts, a few things have changed. I'm not gonna cover it in tremendous detail because I don't think it's that dramatically different. A few new workouts have been added. Some of the data you see while you're working out has changed depending on what you're doing, like outdoor running and walking. One cool new feature though that I think does have a pretty significant impact is that now you can pause a workout. That's not different. But if you forget to unpause, you can add minutes back to that workout. That's what's different, and I think that's cool. Also, you can now see what's next. So depending on the workout you're doing, for me, let's say I've got like an interval row. All right, so I'm gonna do some interval rowing. Well, right here, I can see that I've got 3 minutes left of a warm up, but I can see what's next, which is a minute of work, and I also get haptics for that interval. What's up? So I just finished a jujitsu session and I found something cool, and I'm gonna be the first to admit that this might have been a thing the whole time and I didn't know, but I want to say that this wasn't the case and now it's different. What am I talking about? I just finished a jujitsu session. All right, here is my session, all of the data. Now, when I do jujitsu, I wear a Whoop, and I wear it in this neoprene padded sleeve. You see, I can't wear a big, bulky metal watch on my wrist because the chance of me scraping or cutting somebody or God forbid, damaging their eye is very high. So I put this Whoop in this little sleeve. It's very padded, and I wear it on my bicep. And that's why I got into Whoop, was because it was the only wearable that you could safely wear for jiu-jitsu, and it pretty much still is. Well, anyway, if you didn't know, Whoop, I want to say a couple years ago, started taking all of the data from Apple Watch, porting it into their own algorithm to bolster its data. It made its data better. If I went out on a run and I'm wearing my watch and my Whoop, well, then it can take in even more GPS data, more heart rate data, and it just makes it more accurate, which is great. But it didn't, this is the part I was talking about earlier when I started, but it didn't go the other way around. At least I don't remember it going the other way around. Well, here I've got my activity app, okay? And you can see that
My grappling session is also noted in the activity app. Not only that, but I was able to, give it an effort, and that updated and went into my training load. Now, training load, just like Whoop, requires 28 days, so it needs more data, but I can click on it, and eventually when I get enough data, it'll show up. But there it is. It's showing up. It shows it up as like a 7. I tried really hard. I'm a really good trier, and that's where it ended up. But it didn't affect my activity rings, which made no sense to me. It made no sense that it wouldn't increase my calories, my exercise goal, or my stand goal. It's been like 2 hours since I got home, and I was like, that's super weird. And I came back and I put on my watch and I looked at my activity rings, and I'm like, that's way more closed than this one is. And sure enough, it's now updating. So this is something that I thought for sure didn't work both ways, but it looks like it does now. And so if I'm wrong, please let me know. But if I'm right, this is amazing. This is a really cool update, and I'm so pumped that it does, because I do like closing the rings. It's fun. It's fun to close the rings. I like getting my steps. Like, as good as Whoop is, it's not perfect, and I wish it offered a little bit more. And in tandem, this is an incredible duo when it comes to tracking data and helping you make meaningful change out of that data. I'm really pumped.
There are also some pretty significant updates for those of you that really like to take your training and exercise outdoors. First, whenever you select a workout that's outdoors, you'll be prompted or asked if you wanna check in. This is essentially a notification that can be sent to someone of your choosing, letting them know that you arrived safely at your endpoint. There are a few ways to do this. You can do it as a message by hitting the plus sign and then hit check in. You can do it from your smart stack, or the way I'd think you'd naturally do it is actually from the workout. Swipe over to the left like you're going to stop your workout, and on the bottom you can see that check-in has been added. If you're somebody that spends a significant amount of time at the beach and in the water, if you're a surfer, a snorkeler, a kite surfer, whatever, the new Tides app is going to be invaluable. Clicking on the Tides app brings up the beach. There are a ton of beaches that you can select from. Well over 100,000, I've heard. But if I use the crown to navigate, it's going to give me high tide, tide falling, tide rising, high tide. And if I click info, it's gonna show me the time, how much the tide has dropped or risen, the swell, the weather, the wind, the sunrise, sunset, and you can even open that beach in maps. So again, if you're somebody that loves the water and you're in the water constantly, and that's where you get your exercise, that Tides app is pretty amazing. Also, the Apple Watch now tracks distance for even more activities. Something I'm really pumped about is now we have plotted out hikes in detail for all 63 national parks. That is in the Maps app. If you scroll down, you can now see a section called Hikes. But essentially you pick a location and it will pull up all the hikes for that area. You can select a hike, and if you tap more, you'll see all of the information for that hike, like distance and elevation gain and lost. If you click download route, then it can sync with the Apple Watch, and now you can have an offline map of that hike, and that is pretty awesome. I've talked about making the Apple Watch, specifically the Apple Watch Ultra, a complete standalone device where you could leave your phone at home and do everything on it. And now that we have offline maps, man, you really can do anything you can possibly think of on this device. So if you're the person that's been thinking about leaving your Whoop for an Apple Watch, or if you don't have either and you've been wondering which one you should go with, the Apple Watch with this new update and the new update to iOS 18 and the Health and Activities app makes this much more compelling. But for me personally, given how much of the data that they share to bolster each other and make the experience more fun in both apps, gives me all the more reason to continue to use both at the same time. That's it. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope you found the information helpful and insightful. And if so, could you do me a huge favor and hit the like button? But also, if you want to see more content like this down the road, consider subscribing. It's free. There's no obligation. You can cancel at any time. Well, thanks again for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.